CRD 1.4, Fractional Exponents. Now we're going to start looking at exponents that are fractions and seeing what that means. This is an Algebra 2 topic, but it's fun to kind of explore it and to introduce you to it. So you just have to kind of get the basic of it. So we'll start by talking about what the square root of 49 is. The square root of 49 means what number times itself equals 49. Okay, square root of 49, if you type it in your calculator, it will tell you it's 7. And the reason why it's 7 is because 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, there's actually a little invisible 2 here. They don't write it because every time you see anything that's not written there, you're just implying that it's a 2. Okay, so when you have a fractional exponent and it's the 1/2 power, that actually means the square root of 49. So this is saying what number times itself, what number times itself is equal to 49. And in this case, that is 7. So 49 to the 1/2 power is the same thing as the square root of 49, both equal to 7. You can type both of these into your calculator. You have to use the caret symbol for the 1/2 power, and the square root, you only need to find the square root for if you want to take, there's the invisible 2 there for that. Okay, this is called the cube root, and what this is looking for is what number times itself 3 times equals 8. Okay, so the only way you know how to do this is by guess and check. So you could put 1 in here, 1 times 1 times 1, that equals 1, so it's not going to be that. But if I put 2 in here, I get 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So the cube root of 8 is equal to 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Well, how would you get that? Well, you could type it into your calculator. There's actually a place on your calculator that looks like this. You type in the root number first, 3, then you type this button, then you type 8, and it will give you the answer of 2. It will show you and it will look just like this as well. Okay, so 8 to the 1/3 power is going to be related to the cube root because the 1/3 power and the cube root are exactly the same thing. It's saying what number times itself 3 times is giving you 8, and the same answer is 2. Okay, so now we have the 4th root of 81. So what number times itself 4 times is 81? Well, again, how would you know that? Well, you would only know by guess and check. I tried 1, I tried 2, I tried 3, I tried 4, I tried 5, and actually it's 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. But again, if you didn't know, you could type it into your calculator. Okay, so you would type a 4 first, then you would find this button that looks like that, and then you would type in the radicand 81, and you would get the answer of 3. The 4th root is the same as 81 to the 1/4 power. If you typed in 81 and then a caret and then fraction 1/4, what would it give you? The same thing, 3. Okay, but it's important to me that you know what that means, okay? You know the 4th root means what number times itself 4 times is 81. If you use a calculator to get to the answer, I'm okay with that. But you need to understand what exactly is happening. What are you typing in? Okay, so if I have 36 to the 1/2 power times 36 to the 1/2 power times 36 to the 1/2 power, that looks complicated, but it's really not, because 36 to the 1/2 power is just the square root of 36. 36 to the 1/2 power is the square root of 36. 36 to the 1/2 power is the square root of 36. And so, what is that? 6 times 6 times 6, right? Or 6 to the 3rd power, or 36 times 6, which is 216. So another way that you might see that is in this form, because remember, when you're multiplying something with a similar base or the same base, you can add the exponents. So that would be 36 to the 3/2 power, because 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 is 3/2. Confusing, huh? So when you see something that has a base and a fractional exponent, the bottom number is always referring to what root you're talking about. Because if you remember, we had the 1/4 power, that was the fourth root. We had the 1/3 power, that was the third root. We have the 1/2 power, that's the square root. The 3 is talking about, well, okay, how many of them do I have? Well, I have 3, so I'm going to get my answer when I take the square root, and then I'm going to cube it. So that would be my exponent. And then 36 is going to be what falls underneath the radical, or the square root sign, and it's called the radicand. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple examples here. And let's do like 729 to the 2/3 power. Okay, so if you were given this on a quiz or a test, I would expect that you would know that, okay, that means I'm going to have a radical. That means it's going to be the cube root. That means it's going to be squared, and 729 is going to be the radicand, or the number under the radical. Okay, then I open up my calculator and I find out what the square root, or excuse me, what the cube root of 729 is. So that is, let's see, cube root of 729 is 9. So that part my calculator gave me, but then I'm showing my work, so I show you that I understand what I'm doing, and I get my answer of 81. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is the rule. If you have x to the a over b power, that's going to be, the b is going to be the root, the radical happens, x is under the radical, or the radicand, and a is the exponent. That is the rule, and I would copy that into your book as your kind of last exponent rule. Okay, radicals. This is when we start talking about radicals. There's kind of a different path here for a moment. The square root of 36, now I'm only talking about square roots here. Radicals are when you have a square root symbol. Square root of 36 is equal to 6. It is a natural number. It is also a rational number. But if you have the square root of 30, that is not a perfect square. So therefore, that's going to be an irrational number. And if you type that into your calculator, you're going to get something like 5.4987238188281. That means something without any sort of pattern, no repeating, no pattern or anything, so that's going to be considered an irrational number. So all you can do on this one is estimate what it's close to. So the square root of 30 is going to be between 5 and 6, but closer to 5. I would even say roughly 5.4, because I do know that the square root of 25 is 5, and the square root of 36 is 6. So I know that 30 happens somewhere in the middle there. Okay. You can never have a square root of a negative number. That's considered an imaginary number, also an Algebra 2 topic. The only thing you can do with that is call it 10i. And I'm not going to really teach too much about that, except for that the negative part gives you the I, the square root of 100 gives you 10. But that's the most you need to know about that right now. Okay, it's kind of a tricky concept, but I think you can do the basics of it, so best of luck.